Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when silence becomes your sanctuary, when the noise of expectations, the chaos of timelines, and the burden of forced outcomes only lead you further from yourself. We live in a world where pressure is constant, where being loud is mistaken for being powerful, and rushing is mistaken for progress. But I have learned, not through ease, but through pain, that the things meant for you will never need to be chased, begged for, or forced. In my silence, I discovered my voice. In my stillness, I found the rhythm of my destiny. Life has a beautiful way of unfolding when you step back, breathe deeply, and trust that what is truly yours will always find you. Do not force friendships, love, success, or healing. Let them come, let them flow, let them align, because the things meant to stay will stay effortlessly. And in your quiet, you will rise with a grace that shakes the world. What flows, grows what's forced, breaks. There's a reason why rivers never push against the rocks, they glide around them. They don't argue with the obstacle. They find another way. That is the quiet wisdom of nature. And life too has that wisdom within it. But we as humans often forget. We try to push, press, and force our way through moments that require grace, not resistance. When something isn't meant for you, no matter how hard you try, it slips through your fingers like water. And yet, we hold on tighter, believing that pressure can somehow sculpt destiny. But destiny does not respond to desperation, it answers to surrender. It waits for you to loosen your grip before it places the right things in your palm. Have you ever watched someone cling to a cracked dream until it shattered completely? Have you ever been that person? I have. There is heartbreak in trying to breathe life into something already gone. But there is peace in release. There is healing in letting go of what was never meant to grow with you. The right things in life will not make you chase them endlessly. The right path will not feel like a constant uphill climb without rest. The right people will not require you to beg for their presence. The right dreams will stretch you. Yes, but they will not suffocate you. There is beauty in what comes naturally. The laughter that erupts without warning. The connection that feels like home on the first conversation. The opportunity that shows up when you least expect it but most need it. These are the things that flow, and these are the things that grow. Forcing something is like watering plastic flowers. It may look alive, but it lacks soul. It lacks the softness of growth, the unpredictability of real beauty. Don't mistake attachment for alignment. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's right for you. When something flows, it brings with it peace. It doesn't demand you to lose yourself to gain it. It invites you to rise into it, to meet it in your highest self. It feels like stepping into sunlight after a long shadow. It feels like breathing again. Sometimes we force things because we fear the emptiness that follows letting go. But what if that emptiness is sacred space? What if it's not a void but a vessel? What if that quiet room is where your real life begins? Letting go is not defeat, it's wisdom. It's the wisdom to know that your energy is not infinite and your heart deserves better than begging to be understood. It is the understanding that love, opportunity, and truth cannot be pulled, they arrive when you are still enough to receive them. Growth is not a product of pressure. It's a dance with patience. The most meaningful transformations are not loud. They are soft. They are quiet shifts deep within. When you finally stop pushing and allow yourself to just be. So breathe. Stop clawing. Stop convincing. Stop overthinking what is not blooming. The things that are yours will not miss you. And you will not have to lose your peace to hold them. Your soul was not designed for struggle as proof of worth. It was designed for alignment as proof of purpose. Every time you force, you fracture a piece of your peace. Every time you flow, you mend a piece of your soul. And when you finally stop trying to control every piece of the puzzle, you realize life fits together more beautifully than you could have ever imagined. Not because you forced it, but because you flowed with it. So let go of the illusion of control. and trust the quiet current that carries you toward the shore meant just for you. Silence is strength, not surrender. There is a silence that breaks you, and there is a silence that builds you. The world doesn't often teach the difference. It tells you that if you're quiet, you're weak, that if you're silent, you're invisible. But that kind of silence is not the one I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of the silence you choose, the one that protects your peace, that guards your healing, that honors your energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing, not because you're defeated, but because you've outgrown the conversation. You don't have to respond to chaos. You don't have to match the energy of destruction. You don't have to explain your worth. Silence becomes your sanctuary when words are no longer enough. There is a grace in retreat. There is a fierce softness in stillness. When you stop reacting to everything, you start choosing what deserves your energy. You stop throwing your light into every dark corner and begin protecting it for the places that need it most. People will misunderstand your silence. They will say you've changed. And that's the truth. They just don't realize it's growth. Growth is often silent. It doesn't need applause. It happens when you're curled up in pain but choosing not to project it. When you're triggered but choosing peace over retaliation. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to fix every perception that paints you wrongly. Some things are best left unsaid, not because they don't matter, but because your peace matters more. There is a moment in every healing journey where silence becomes your friend. Not the painful kind that makes you feel abandoned, but the sacred kind, the one that holds you while you find your own voice again. The one that lets you grieve without interruption. The one that doesn't rush you into performance. This silence isn't hollow. It's full. It holds everything you've never said, every unshed tear, every suppressed scream. And in this sacred silence, something shifts. You begin to hear yourself again. You begin to feel again. And you begin to return softly, slowly, wholly. Some people will think you've disappeared. But you're just learning how to show up without noise, how to speak without sound, how to lead without shouting. You're becoming something unshackably rooted, not in noise, but in depth. There's a power in not reacting. There's a nobility in choosing peace over pride. There's a healing that comes from knowing you don't need to be loud to be heard, and you don't need to be seen to be powerful. Silence is your inner sanctuary. It's the room where your soul repairs itself after being shattered. It's the space where clarity returns after the storm. It's where your truth rises not to shout, but to simply stand. And when you emerge, you will find that the silence did not weaken you. It refined you. It carved out the noise. It stripped away the layers. It made room for the real you to speak not in anger, but in wisdom. Not everything demands a response. Not every attack deserves your energy. And not every conversation is meant for your voice. Sometimes, the most revolutionary thing you can do is protect your energy with quiet. So rest in that silence. Let it hold you. Let it heal you. Because in that space, you are becoming more than you've ever been without ever needing to say a word. Forced people are not your people. You should never have to earn your place in someone's heart by constantly proving your worth. When people are meant to walk beside you, their presence won't feel like a test. It won't feel like something that could disappear the moment you stop performing. If they're truly yours, they'll stay not because of what you give, but because of who you are. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from chasing people who never turn around. From giving endlessly, hoping for just a fragment of care in return. From shrinking yourself so someone else can feel taller next to you. And that exhaustion doesn't just live in your body, it burrows into your soul. You begin to wonder what's wrong with you. You ask yourself why you're not enough. But the truth is, it was never about your worth. It was about misaligned energy. When someone needs you to become less so they can stay, they were never meant to be there in the first place. We force people into our lives when we are afraid of being alone. But what if solitude isn't the enemy? What if it's the space where the right people finally recognize your light? You don't find your people by performing, you find them by being. The right ones won't flinch at your scars. They won't walk away when your voice shakes. They won't leave when the storms come. They'll sit with you even in your silence, even in your pain, because their connection to you isn't conditional. Every time you try to keep someone who keeps pulling away, you teach your soul that it must beg to be loved. And love was never meant to be begged for. Real love doesn't need a performance, it needs presence. It needs truth. It needs consistency. When you let go of the ones who aren't choosing you, you don't lose, you make space. You clear the room for peace. You open the door for alignment. You honor yourself enough to say, I don't have to be everything for someone who sees me as nothing. The hardest part is walking away from people you care about. But what's harder is staying and losing yourself trying to keep them. You deserve relationships where you are met, not measured, where you are embraced, not edited, where your soul is seen, not scanned for flaws. Letting go of forced people doesn't mean you don't love them, it means you love yourself more. It means you've learned that your energy is sacred, that your time is precious, that your heart was not made to be tossed around like an afterthought. And sometimes silence is the loudest boundary you can set. You stop calling, you stop explaining, you stop reaching out. And in that silence, you finally hear your own heartbeat again. There is a beautiful kind of peace that enters when you stop chasing and start aligning. When you stop asking, why don't they care? And start asking, why am I giving my heart where it's not safe? Not everyone is meant to stay. Some are just passing lessons. And the lesson is this: you are not too much, you are not too emotional, you are not too intense, you are exactly the right amount for the right people. Your people will hold space for you. They won't need you to perform healing before you're ready. They won't require a highlight reel. They'll sit with you in your mess, in your silence, in your becoming, and they'll stay. So stop forcing doors that keep closing. Stop running after people who keep disappearing. Because somewhere out there, someone is praying for a soul like your sand. They will never make you chase love. Your healing doesn't need an audience. Healing is a sacred ceremony, not a public performance. But we've been taught that we must show our strength, that we must prove our progress, that we must document every part of our recovery to make it real. And yet, the deepest healing I've ever known happened in the quiet corners of my soul, where no one could see, where no one was clapping. The world loves the comeback story, but only the part where you rise. It doesn't want to witness the nights you cried on the floor, the days when getting out of bed felt like a mountain, the moments when hope was so fragile, you held it like glass. But those are the moments where true healing lives. You don't have to prove that you're better. You don't have to explain your scars. You don't owe anyone a polished version of your pain. Healing isn't linear. It isn't perfect. It isn't pretty. And it isn't for show. Some days you will be soft and steady. Other days the memories will come like waves. And that's okay. Healing is not about being untouched by pain. It's about no longer being ruled by it. It's about walking through the fire without letting it consume who you are becoming. Sometimes you need to vanish. Not to escape, but to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You need to be unreachable. Not because you're angry, but because your soul needs space to breathe without interruption. Healing happens when you stop explaining why you're not okay. When you stop trying to meet the expectations of people who never stayed long enough to understand your wounds. When you give yourself permission to be unfinished, unpolished, and real, there's nothing wrong with disappearing for a while. With turning down the volume of the world so you can hear the whispers of your own heart. With creating a quiet sanctuary where you can break and rebuild in peace. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And that becoming is sacred. It deserves tenderness. It deserves slowness. It deserves protection. The strongest people are not the ones who never fall apart. They are the ones who crumble in silence and rise without applause. They are the ones who carry pain with grace, who stitch themselves back together with trembling hands. You don't need to share every step of your journey to validate its depth. You don't need to show anyone your wounds to prove they exist. Your healing is yours. And it is real, even if no one else sees it. Some things are too holy for the crowd. Some transformations are too sacred for performance. Some moments of growth are meant to be witnessed only by your soul, and that is more than enough. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to have bad days. You are allowed to not be okay and still be healing. Your pace is perfect. Your silence is sacred. Your journey is worthy. And when you finally emerge from the cocoon of your own silence, it won't be because you were trying to impress anyone. It will be because you are ready. Not to perform, but to live. Divine timing is never late. There's a rhythm to life that exists beyond our understanding, a sacred order that moves like the unseen wind, gentle, steady, purposeful. But the human heart often rushes. It grows restless in the waiting. It doubts in the silence. It aches in the in-between. Yet, that stillness, that delay is where divine timing does its most beautiful work. We pray for answers, and when they don't come immediately, we assume the heavens are silent. But perhaps what feels like delay is actually preparation. Perhaps the pause is not a punishment, but a pause of gracious space where the pieces are being placed exactly where they belong. When we don't see results, we panic. We assume we must do more, force more, chase harder. But the truth is, some doors won't open until your hands are free. Some paths won't reveal themselves until your spirit is calm. And some blessings will not come until the noise inside you quiets down. There is a difference between hard work and force. One comes from alignment, the other from anxiety. And when we operate from fear, we push against timing that is trying to protect us. We chase things not because they are meant for us, but because we are afraid they'll never come again. But what is meant for you cannot miss you. Not because you chased it, but because it is tied to your purpose. It is woven into your journey. And it will arrive, not on your schedule, but at the exact moment your soul is ready to receive it. The universe is not in a hurry. It does not rush beauty. It does not speed through growth. Look at the mountains, look at the trees. They bloom, they rise, they unfold slowly, and yet they are complete. They are magnificent, and they are never late. There are seasons in your life when everything seems paused. Nothing moves, no doors open, no voices answer. And in those seasons, you are tempted to force movement. But some seasons are not about action, they are about trust. They are about surrender. They are about deepening your roots before you rise again. We must learn to trust the unseen, to believe that just because we don't see progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Some miracles unfold in silence. Some breakthroughs grow underground like seeds, long before they break through the surface. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for what is forming inside you. The right opportunities, the right people, the right moments, they are aligning quietly, lovingly, without force. Your worth is not measured by how fast you get there. Your journey is not defined by how loudly you move. There is a quiet grace in waiting with hope, a sacred power in trusting the process, even when your heart is tired and your hands are empty. When you stop rushing, you start noticing. You begin to see the small signs, the confirmations, the alignments, the whispers. You recognize that even the closed doors were part of the divine design. They didn't reject you, they redirected you. And in that redirection, you are led not just to what you want, but to what you need. What will sustain you? What will strengthen you? What will not break under pressure because it was built with time, intention, and divine precision. So wait not with fear, but with faith. Be still not because you've given up, but because you are grounded. Hold space not for worry, but for wonder. Because what's coming is not delayed, it's being perfected. And when it arrives, you will understand why you had to wait, why the silence was necessary, why the stillness was sacred. You will see that the delay was never a denial, it was a divine design written specifically for your becoming. There is extraordinary power in surrender, not the surrender of weakness, but the surrender of wisdom. The kind that says, I will no longer bleed for things that do not choose me back. I will no longer chase what is not meant for my peace. I will no longer speak just to fill the silence, because I've learned sometimes silence speaks louder than words ever could. You were not created to beg for spaces that cannot hold you, to force open doors that God never intended to be yours, or to rush a journey that was always meant to unfold slowly. You were created to move with grace, to allow, not control, to trust, not panic, to be led by inner stillness rather than external noise. Let go of the desperation to be understood by those who choose not to see you. Release the pressure to explain your path to those who were never meant to walk it with you. The most sacred parts of your healing, your becoming, and your growth don't need to be announced. They simply need to be honored. Be silent when your spirit is weary. Be still when the world demands you run. And most of all, be patient with the timing of your life. What is meant for you is already making its way to you, not through force, not through fear, but through quiet alignment. In the silence, you will meet your truest self. In the stillness, you will hear divine instructions. And in the surrender, you will discover a freedom that forcing never gave you. So take a breath, unclench your fists, and remember, you don't need to push the river. It already knows where it's going. And so do you.